ran 125 in a row. And then he ran the Boston after that. 7-time Muay Thai world champion. He had a fight in Vegas and he ran a marathon in the morning and then he knocked the guy out in the third round after. Holy shit.
Okay, everybody, we have a very special guest with us today, Stu Smith, former Navy SEAL. And I think it's probably like the Marine Corps, once a Marine, always Marine. So I'm more than sure once a SEAL, always a SEAL. Stu, thank you so much for being here with us today. I am incredibly excited about this particular interview because you are not only, vetted as being quit-proof, you teach people how to be quit-proof. So I think it's really special to have you here today and get your perspective on being quit-proof for everybody that's listening. So, Stu, welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for being here.
Hey, thank you so much for having me on. Once I saw who this was and Quitproof, I was like, oh man, let's do it. This is a no-brainer. So
yeah, it's a perfect fit.
Yeah.
So Stu, let's just start with how were you raised? How did you get into the Navy? What did you do while you were in the Navy? How did you transition into what you're doing right now? Which I've been, like I told you earlier, I've been stalking you on social media for a while, and I'm really, really impressed with who you are, your service to our country, and what you do going forward is really exciting to me because we have some things in common there, but I'm just going to let you take over and
oh yeah, absolutely. Well, you probably found me on the never quit hashtag because that's kind of been my thing, hashtag never quit, right? In fact, I sign all my books, whenever someone buys one, never quit, Stu Smith. But no, I'll have to start using Quitproof because that is equally powerful. So I love it. So yeah. I grew up in a small town in northern Florida and moved around a little bit before then. But by the time I was 8 years old, we had settled into the North Florida town in Suwannee County, Florida. Not sure if you know where it is, but Suwannee River goes all the way around it, and pretty much in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, my little brother was born in Tallahassee.
Yep, we're about 80 miles
in Orlando, so I've got some experience in Florida.
Yeah, so I grew up 80 miles east of Tallahassee and 80 miles west of Jacksonville. So that middle of I-10 middle of nowhere I-10. And but it was a great place to grow up, just small town, one high school in the whole county, and just, worked out, played sports, tried to figure out what I was going to do with my life. And, always had a summer job. My dad said, you can either work after school or play sports. And I was like, okay. So I played sports every semester I was there, and everything from wrestling to baseball, football, powerlifting team. That was fun. And even track. So I bounced around all over, was never really a master of any of them, just kind of good enough. And did well enough to get accepted into the Naval Academy from my high school, and went to the Naval Academy. And when I was high school, I was team captain and did all these things. And I do have a quit story in high school that I realized I never want to do this again. And I actually quit baseball my junior year. Like right as the season started, I was like, yeah, this isn't for me anymore. I'm done. I played for 12 years and, I want to go powerlift. We had a powerlifting team. And I was like, let's go powerlift. Or I think I threw track, threw shot put in the track. Anyway, I still quit, and I quit on all my buddies. And I still feel bad about that one. And I knew after that, I never wanted to do that again. So for me, quitting almost had to be experienced first. And it makes you really realize that, they're just see it out. Just make it to the next day, make it to the next week, just finish what you started.
So you learned at that point that quitting, it seems like what you're telling me is that you learned at that point that quitting wasn't for you. You didn't like it.
I didn't want to do it ever again. And I really didn't. And I learned a lot from that one. In fact, I go back to my hometown every now and then. I bump into my old baseball coach, and I apologize to say,
Okay.
I'm sorry I quit my junior year. But I
Yeah,
will say this, I
I'm gonna-
learned so much from that.
Yeah, I'm going to jump in real quick because what we teach people is, and this is a really important point here, is that we teach people that quitting is a habit, like any other habit.
Sure.
The first time you quit, you hate it. Like I'm never going to quit again. If it happens again, then it happens and it gets a little bit easier, and then it gets a little bit easier, and it gets a little bit easier, it gets a little bit easier, and next thing you know, you're a habitual quitter. So the fact that you didn't like the way that tasted and made that agreement with yourself, I'm not going to quit again, I think is really important for people to hear. You know, yeah, you shouldn't like it, and don't make it a habit. And you didn't. I have a really quick question that I wanted to jump in with too, since I interrupted you. Was
Oh, that's all right.
why the Navy?
Well, everybody in my family was Army, and when you're a typical 18-year-old kid, you want to do your own thing, and both grandfathers, World War II, dad, uncles, Vietnam, and all Army. And I said, so you know what? Top Gun just came out, and I saw these cool pilots doing pilot stuff. I was like, oh, that's really cool. I'll be a Navy pilot. So I actually joined the Naval Academy with the goal of playing football and being a Navy pilot. And when I got there, I realized I spent all of my energy preparing to get to the Naval Academy. And I did no research or work or preparation to kind of help myself get through the Naval Academy. It was force fed to me by a fire hose when I got there, and I was overwhelmed. I mean, I failed my first fitness test that I ever took, failed sit-ups of all things. Was failing like 2 classes, chemistry and calculus, by the time I got to Thanksgiving. And you'll love this story. And I came home to Thanksgiving, and I'm homesick. Girlfriend breaks up with you. All these things going on, right? And failing, just miserably, not doing what I thought I would be doing. And my mom goes, after me crying and to say I missed you guys and this is awful, and she goes, well, why don't you just come home and quit? And I was just like, I can't quit. and she was like, well, let's figure this out and get back stronger, and let's figure this out. And so she just kind of helped me organize myself, be a little more time management skills, and breathing things to just help reduce anxiety of test taking or whatever. There's just so many different little things. And then we looked into, study skills at the academy just to help with, studying, and then had a couple of guys that were really good at fitness. I started working out with them. And next thing you know, I'm crushing PT tests. I passed my grades. I didn't do great that first semester, but I was getting above water and had all passing grades. And came home Christmas as a completely different person. And that was kind of like my moment of, which way do I go right here? There was a fork in the road.
Fork in the road, exactly what
I could have gone either direction. Yeah. And I look back at this day as that being probably the most powerful direction for me, because remember, I went to the academy to be a pilot and a football player. I didn't make the football team. Wound up playing rugby, but they had so many good, athletes on the team and mentors, upperclassmen that wanted to be SEALs and Marines. And I saw what they were doing, and I saw that this place isn't impossible. I just got to do what they're doing. And, they were a good example for me to follow. Next thing I know, iron sharpens iron, and I am doing the same thing they're doing with the underclassmen a few years later. So I kind of got on this direction of wanting to go to BUD/S and go become a SEAL officer, and just never look back.
See, that
after
fork in
that.
the road is really important, and we like to say pain is only temporary, but quitting lasts a lifetime, right? And your mom gave you the door, and you didn't step through the threshold, and that's huge because we all of us, no matter what walk of life you're in, come to that fork in the road. And it's really important that you realize, I believe, that there is a fork in the road, and that you need to go that way. You need to go away from quitting, because that, I mean, I say it all the time. One thing's for sure, quitting is 100% fail.
Yeah. Oh,
You,
absolutely.
you stay in the
Absolutely. Yeah.
game, you can play the game, but quitting is the dead end. It's a dead end. It's the same place every single time. Quitting is a dead end road. And I mean, not that you need it, but I'm so proud of you that you didn't
Oh,
quit right
thank you
then.
very much. It's funny because my mom, rest in peace. She later said that was the hardest statement she ever said to me, because she didn't want me to quit. But I think she knew me well enough to say that, give me that option. And that was the other option that I had. It was either stay there and figure this out or not. And
Yeah.
once I saw the or not, I was like, well, there's only one route to go.
Yeah. So
And
you decided that you're going to become a Navy SEAL, and it was, man.
yeah, that was quite a jump. I mean, I was failing everything, failed at fitness, failed at sports, failed at academics. Um, and then, I had to figure it out. It took me a good year to really kind of figure it out, and then set a new goal for myself. I wound up playing 3.5 years on the rugby team, which was so much fun. Traveled all over the world playing rugby, and learned a lot of, met a lot of really neat people that wound up being a very big part of my formative years. Um, and half of them don't even know it. They were just doing their thing, and I just saw what they were doing. And you know, a lot of this journey in life is really realizing that nothing is impossible. And when you see somebody doing what you want to do, and you see how they're doing it, it really does take that impossibility factor for you out of the equation. Especially when it's stuff like an 80% attrition rate at a future school you want to attend, but you see everybody's making it through, and you're like, oh man, now I know what I need to do. It's not impossible, and I can do this. So I think that also helped.
Did you know, now, was it like the Naval Academy? Did you say, like, I want to be a SEAL, and just go there, and you're like, oh my God, what? Or did you know what you were getting into at that point?
Oh, as far as after I figured it all out. Oh
Yeah,
yeah, I knew what I was
like,
getting into. I was,
okay.
in fact, my first SEAL PT that I ever went to just got crushed. I mean, this was like second year I was at the academy. I just started to kind of transition out of this football playing powerlifter guy into a little bit more calisthenics and cardio, and I was able to build up some endurance and muscle stamina, but nowhere near where I needed to be. I could pass Naval Academy standards, but I couldn't pass the Navy SEAL standards. And there was always an active duty SEAL master chief or lieutenant on the yard that would just wreck us. Like I said, this is a buds grinder PT. You guys ready? Let's go. And I was last on a couple of the runs, and it was just, but eventually I wasn't. I just got a little bit better every week, and I just kept showing up. I think
Mhm.
that was the biggest thing was, when they had a 5:45 SEAL PT meeting, on this field in the winter, you know, you show up, and that's half the battle, right?
For
And then,
sure, especially in Annapolis in the winter, right? Oh
oh
my
yeah,
God.
I mean it sucks. I mean we work out outside right now still, so every one of those kids that joined me working out, you see on my social media that, we're working out 6 a.m. It's 25 degrees all week this week. I think today felt like a heat wave at 38. And so we're just getting after it, and they're showing up. They're being consistent, and that's the one thing I try to teach them is just just be consistent with what you're doing, because the last thing you want to do is be consistent with quitting.
100%.
Right? Just keep going. Just keep going.
Yeah, keep showing up. Now, since I'm unfamiliar with the Naval Academy, do you finish the Naval Academy as an officer and then you go into SEAL training? Is that how it works?
Yeah, it's a 4-year college, and military training goes throughout that process, and then you go, right to buds after you graduate, and yeah, you're in it.
Yeah.
You're in it. And I'll be honest with you, I was a little cynical about the whole Naval Academy experience when I was there. I didn't really think I learned a lot. I thought I was wearing a uniform and going to college. That's pretty much what I felt like. I didn't feel like I was, training to be a warrior. I felt like I was just an academic going to school wearing a uniform, and I was mistaken. By the time I got to the academy, or by the time I got to Buds, and we were under a boat and under a log, and I was working with a boat crew and a class of everybody, officers and enlisted going through the training together. I realized real quickly I did learn something and was able to take care of people and, get people from A to B on time with all the right gear and all the little bitty admin stuff that you have to do. But then when things got really miserable, focusing on everybody else's problems kind of helped me not have to deal with mine. Right. It was almost a blessing, to be responsible for someone other than myself at that time.
So as an officer, I just have a question because I'm very curious. As an officer, when you're in Buds, do they automatically make you sort of a leader?
Yes. In fact, you're in charge of a boat crew, what they call it. It's like 6 or 7 of guys and yourself that are under the boat, under the log. It's a squad when you're patrolling. So they test your leadership skills out immediately. What happens underneath that boat and underneath that log matters. And
sure.
the instructors will always say this can make or break a team right here. And it really depends on how that team is working together, communicating. And those are the little things that I didn't think I learned, but I did, when I was going through school, and probably some of my prior athletics, with team captains and stuff like that. But, I found that to be something that I was really grateful for. And I moved back to the area afterwards, and I wanted to give back. So I've been a volunteer coach over there for 20 years.
Okay.
And so it's been a lot of fun.
Okay. So you go through SEAL training, and isn't that for people that aren't aware? That's like a 6 or 9 month training?
Yeah, 6 months.
6 months. And you can get dropped at any time.
Yeah, usually it's the first month. That first month is when everybody leaves, right? Because it's just really hard. There's boats on your head, there's logs, there's cold water, it's dark, days are long, nights are long, and it's just cold out there in California. Water is just freezing.
Sure.
Typically,
what were the statistics on your class? What did they start with? What did they finish with?
We had 120 start, and we finished with 28.
There you go, people.
So, yeah. So that was, between quitting and injuries and not meeting the standard, that's usually the big 3 that get people to not make it, through the program.
Okay. So you get into so you graduate the training and you're into the fleet. So then what did you do?
Yeah, you go to a team. Back in those days, you went straight to a team, and then you went through some advanced training for another 6 months, and then you were eligible after that training to get your trident, and your SEAL pin. Sure. And that was a huge board. Officers had the officer board they had to endure. They had the enlisted board they had to endure, and nobody was making it easy for you to get that trident. And Now they have a whole different system where right after buds, they go to what's called SQT. And it's very similar to that. It's still 6 months of extra training, but at the end, they get their trident there versus individually at the team versus having like 10 different methods of doing it. Now it's all part of a school.
So you go to the team, you went to the team first, then
without
you
a
had
trident.
trial by fire.
Yes.
Then they gave you your trident, or you earned your trident. They didn't give it to you.
Yeah, it's kind of like a 6-month probation, they would call it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so you got your trident, you're a SEAL. What do you do?
Now I'm in charge of a platoon, and I was at a SDV team, so we drive mini subs. SDV SEAL delivery vehicle, where we would drive mini subs. So we'd have this little mini submarine.
Yeah.
It was really cool. It was really cool. And then you would park it into this garage of a big submarine. I mean, it was about as cool as it could get, if you like scuba diving, because you're going to be wet the whole time. So
yeah, I love scuba diving. That's some real James Bond stuff.
Oh man, I enjoyed it. I've been scuba diving in North Florida since I was 12 years old, and so I kind of had an affinity towards that, and in hindsight, it all kind of made sense.
Right? So what was that mini submarine? What was that for? Just for the listeners that don't know, like what was that purpose?
There's multiple purposes for that. I mean, you can, just imagine you're 10 miles off the shore of somewhere, and if you were in a boat, pretty easily detected, but you got 4 to 6 guys in this mini sub, taking it to the water's edge and go doing the thing. They can park it right up under a boat, put up explosives under a boat in a harbor. I mean, you can do a whole lot of neat things with it. You can just surveillance, recon stuff. It's multifaceted, the mission sets that you could do out of those things. And but it's hard. It's a hard thing. I mean, you can't stay out there for 10 hours if it's 40-degree water, so it's limited to a degree of human exposure to cold, because you're going to get cold.
Were you doing operations, and when did you serve in a combat environment?
I was in from 91 until 99, so pretty much a peacetime section. I mean, while I was going through the academy, the Gulf War started and ended. And then I went right in after that to buds, and we thought things were going to heat up after the first Twin Tower explosion back in 93, I think it was, and nothing really happened out of that. That was more of a CIA role than anything else. Wasn't really a military role that occurred after that. But yeah, we were just always getting spun up for something, whether it was on deployment in the Adriatic area when Bosnia and all that was heating up, or somewhere off the Med. That's kind of where our operation area was. But to be honest with you, nothing really that exciting. So 99 can't come around, and I'm like, I don't know. It's like, do I want to stay in here much longer? And I at the time, got married, started having kids. Economy's going great, and let's say, let's see if there's something else out there for me. And I really I always wanted to be coaching something. I never thought I'd do it as a job. I thought it'd just be a volunteer thing. And I was a decent, fitness writer. So I work out and write about it now as a living. I coach for free, use that as experience to write about. So I write articles, I write programming, write books about programming, and really kind of focus on the tactical world now. So it's military, law enforcement, firefighter, special ops, and I have training programs for the test that it takes to get accepted into those trainings. And then the follow-on training that helps you get through the training, because what most people do is they just focus on the test to get accepted. Kind of like my story at the academy. I focused on everything to get accepted, and then had my ass handed to me when I got there. I had to figure things out and luckily things went in the right direction, but I try to teach things in two phases of getting accepted to the training and preparing yourself to get through the training. So
I
kind of
see.
phase 1 and phase 2 of tactical fitness has been to and through.
And so when you got out, did you immediately transition into that, or was there?
I did.
Oh, you did.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I started writing programs, and it's sort of evolved as technology evolved, because remember 99, not a whole lot going on in internet and social media, and people weren't buying on the internet,
Sure.
back then, really.
That was like the .bomb, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I actually had a regular publisher and just wrote fitness books through them, bookstore type stuff. And then internet started moving so I started creating a website, had articles on certain topics about fitness testing, and then still do that today. I write 3 articles a week for military.com, mainly on military style fitness stuff.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was talking to a SWIC this morning, and he said, yeah, every time I get a military.com, his name's at the bottom of it.
Yeah, I've been writing them imagine this. I'm writing 3 articles a week since 2002. So
Where did the writing skill come in?
Well, my dad's a newspaper publisher and my mom's an English teacher.
Oh,
so whenever I was submitting a term paper or something, I always had 2 sets of eyes just editing it, fixing it, and show me what I'm messing up. And so I think that is probably where it came from.
Well, it's a real skill, because I can tell you, so we just finished my book, which will be launching pre-launch next month.
Oh, nice.
And I gotta tell you something. Baloney. I'm telling you, I thought to myself, oh, this is a piece of cake. I got a writer to write it, and oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's a hard process,
buddy.
Really hard process. Yeah. Talk about never quit. I mean, it's real easy to quit on writing a book. But it's real easy. I mean, I can't tell you how many people, say, I want to write a book,
Yeah. Yeah, that's like climbing Mount Everest on your freaking thumbs.
Yeah.
It really is. Man, I'm impressed by the amount of work it takes to get to the finish line for real. Mm-hmm. To have a good quality piece of work. So now, how many books have you actually written? Do you have them? Like, you can hold them up? Because I have
over 40. So
40?
I have over 40. So I used to have a whole bookshelf behind me, but these are some of them. These are some of my self-published ones, like my spring training, getting through into like Air Force Special Ops.
We'll have them all up, because I want people to have it's important. I mean, for people that are wanting to take this stuff on, and that's the thing that really impresses me about you. Not only have you proven yourself to be quit-proof, this is the thing that's really cool about you. You teach people how to be quit-proof.
Yeah, thanks. I found that, for me, the catalyst to keeping me from, not quitting, right, and getting things done, period, has been the physical side of my life. So working out, it is no longer a motivation issue. It's a discipline. It's a habit. It's consistency. All of those things are just kind of bred into me now, and I realized the other day that I've been working out for 41 years. Right. And like, I talk to people like, hey, I took the month off. I'm like, what? I don't think I've ever taken a week off, so it's just one of those things that it's just part of my life.
Yeah.
Right? To the point of where if I didn't have it, I would be miserably unproductive in all the other areas. So,
yeah, it's great that you say that, because the first chapter in our book is the compass and the catalyst, right? Where's your compass pointed, and what's fueling that? And your compass is pointed at, and it seems like to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, your compass is pointed at teaching and empowering people to figure out what their goal is and to create a path to get to that goal that's realistic. And the fuel to it is all of the stuff that you dump into it to give them the fuel to go out and do it. Because let me tell you something, those compasses are pointed at some pretty serious destinations.
Oh yeah, yes, for sure. And they can get sidetracked real easy. There's just way too many distractions going
Sure.
on. And, if you can be consistent with just one thing in your life, you'll start to see how consistency and habits and discipline all evolve into all the other areas of your life as well. Whether that is, I need to pull an all-nighter to finish this book, or, I need to study this in order to pass this test, that's academically oriented. It doesn't matter. It's all in the same cup.
Yeah, because I owned a gym for several years until COVID, and I would tell people, you know what the number one thing is? Consistency.
Oh,
you
absolutely.
keep showing up and it's gonna happen. And distractions are the number one dream killer, right?
Yeah, for sure.
100% is. And so tell us about what your training looks like. What does your training program look like? And then obviously you can get people physically. There's a lot of people that can get folks physically prepared for a challenge, but the type of challenges that you get people prepared for are the mental quit. How to unpack that for us? How do you put that inside of there?
Well, first thing I do is I set my morning workouts up for everybody to attend who wants to serve. These are free workouts if you want to serve. So there's not even a monetary investment, and which sometimes that's a good driver for people. They pay a personal trainer, they'll show up because they're paying them. But it's free. It's at 6 a.m. every day except for Sunday. Take Sunday off. And it's outdoors. So heat of the summer, humidity, freezing cold winter, ice and snow. We get both ends of the spectrum here in Maryland. And, just that laying in your bed at 5:30 thinking, all right, I got to get up, meet Stu in 15 minutes at the, where we're working out. Better dress warm. I just don't feel like getting up out of bed. Just that first battle of the day of getting out of bed is the first thing that you did, right? And I want everybody to wrestle with that demon first thing in the morning, because that is going to happen every day. I wake up every morning pretty much the same way of like, oh,
sure.
And I was sleeping. I'm so comfortable. I'm so warm. I got this dog sleeping next to me that's cuddled up to me. And,
that's the first wall that you sledgehammer down every day.
Yeah, it is. Very rarely am I like, boom, 100% ready to go, motivated. I'm 55 years old working out with 20-year-olds. I'm hurting, just
I'll let a secret go too. I'm just like you. Most people think of the things that I've accomplished. They're like, oh, you must just like hit the ground running. I'm like, nah.
Takes a long time for me to warm up. My body yells at me during the warm-ups. It's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Right. It's just constantly about a time 10 minutes into that warm-up. Okay, I'm ready to roll now. But
I can tell you there's several mornings where I literally go, let's go.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I
Plus,
literally grab my ear and go, let's go.
Plus, that, after this many years of doing it, you always feel better when it's done versus having skipped it.
Yeah.
Right.
When I worked out with Chuck Norris, we worked out in the morning every single time. Worked out in the morning. And one day he looked at me, he goes, you know why we work out in the morning? I go, tell me.
Yeah, that's because Chuck Norris talking.
Yeah, he said to me, because Tom, he said, I like walking around all day saying I'm done, not I'm gonna.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. He would say, people tell
Absolutely.
me all day long, I'm going to work out this. I'm going to go do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do this. And he looks at him and goes, well, I did it. I'm done.
Done.
Yeah.
I love that. I love
Yeah.
that. Well,
Stuck
he's
with me.
right. And chances are there's nothing competing with that 5:30, 6 a.m. workout that's outside of your comfort.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, like, other than you just wanting to stay in bed, there's really nothing else that's competing with you. If you try to do it at 5 p.m., there's a lot of competing with you at the end of the day.
Hey, listen, you've already been the human punching bag
Oh,
all day long.
yeah. You're tired.
Yeah.
Two, meeting shifted your schedule 30 minutes, and
Sure.
now you got family time, and it starts interfering with all of it. So get it done early.
Now, with these people that you train, do you put the mental grease to them too? Do you break out the blowtorch and start to let them have it like that too, and say, hey, this is what you are? How's that integrated into the training?
Well, first of all, that big part of outdoors in the cold or the heat, that's 90% of it right there. And first thing in the morning, I would say that's 90%. I say I am a much better coach than I am instructor, right? So if I was a instructor, I'd be telling them they're fat, they're ugly, they're too slow. You better get your butt moving. You're slowing up the whole Navy. But I'm not like that. Be honest with you, that's exhausting. I've played the bad guy every now and then, and it's just not fun. I'd rather coach somebody, teach them the proper methods of training, techniques, all of that, give them a ton of ideas and experiences that they can put away in their backpack to know that I've done something really hard today. And whenever I go do something really hard with the Navy or Marine Corps or, whatever job they're trying to do, they can pull back on that experience and say, man, this is exactly what Stu would do. Right. So I try to give them some experiences that I know they're going to see in their world. If they're a Marine, we got a couple Marines in the group that, future Marines in the group, and, they're rucking, they're, running, pull-ups, all that stuff, and I'm trying to help them also build depending on their athletic history. Like if you're a runner, you might need to put a little weight on and get a little stronger so you can handle a ruck, or if they're a weightlifter, might need to drop the weights and let's hit some calisthenics and cardio and get your endurance and muscle stamina up. So everybody has a little bit different journey going into this. And I think me as a coach, I need to be more in tune with that versus just setting the standard that everybody needs to reach and yelling at them for not meeting it.
Yeah, it's easy to set the world on fire, in my opinion, but being a coach is a lot more complex of a job and more important. So anybody can train people to kick and punch a knee and elbow, but training them how to fight, on the other hand, is a different thing.
Yeah.
Right. So you empower them with all the tools that they're going to need to face the it.
Yes. Yeah. And, it also helps when we have, especially during holidays, people will come back, because I've been doing this for 20 years now. I got people who've retired from military service that were my students, right? And so they come back, they do a workout with us, they answer questions, they say, hey, it's good to see all you young guys out here doing work. Or we have active duty SEALs and Marines and recon guys come back and talk to them about what they're doing. And, once again, that's kind of like that next level for me. When I was their age, is like, I saw it. Now I can believe it, and I can do this. This is not impossible. This route right here, what I am doing right here can get me to that, what I want to do, and it takes away that impossibility factor once again for the students. So I would say if there's anything that I try to instill in them is that right there. Because that is probably the most powerful thing that I think a coach can coach.
Yeah.
And that is just building some confidence in someone who maybe didn't have any,
Oh yeah.
And then they can take that with whatever they decide to do in life, whether they serve or not. I don't care. I just
Sure.
want them to leave here and go crush whatever they're doing.
No, what you do is so cool. Like it is
Thank you. I love it.
seriously,
Yeah.
it
I
really
mean,
is.
I'll be honest with you. I'm an old guy, just like yourself, and I don't feel old, but I'm definitely not the old guy that makes fun of the younger generation. Like so many
Mhm,
people do. I see this younger generation. For the last 20 years, they were coming to work out with me, knowing that they were going to go to war.
mhm,
I mean, they knew it, and
mhm.
that just gave me so much hope. For people who wanted to do something bigger than themselves and serve their country and community in very challenging jobs. And the one thing I try to let them know is that fitness is going to be that one thing that will probably save your life or save somebody else's life in your job. Right, your fitness will one day be the determining factor on survival for you, someone you're trying to save, or your partner. um And, so if that does not motivate you to go and want to go train, this is when I get real with them and I say,
Yeah,
you need to find another job.
100%.
You
So
find something else to do. There's no shame in it.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, it was like fighting, we would be training and especially when I very first started and new people would come in. So I went to the only guy in pretty much California that taught Thai boxing. And Thai boxing is a lot different than martial arts, right?
Oh, sure.
So they get in the ring and get a few leg kicks and stuff like that. And the Asian guy would look at him and go, maybe tennis better for you.
Yeah, it doesn't take long to get kicked in the thigh
Yeah.
before
So
you're
hey,
like unable to stand.
I got a question for you. So you're training these young people, they're out of their comfort zone. And what are like 5 things that you tell people that want to quit? Like they run up against the wall, right? And they need to sledgehammer down that wall. How do you coach them through wanting to quit? I'm really curious as to what that unpack that for us. Because you
Well,
have to, I'm sure that you run into it constantly.
yeah, first of all, it's, I would say 50% of the people that are in that position are there because, and this is where me as a coach comes in,
Correct.
are there because they didn't hydrate, they didn't add electrolytes on a hot, humid day, or they're just hungry, right? And they just ran out of blood sugar. And they are just physically at a point that had they just done any of those, they would be able to continue on. So, and I always tell them, I said, this is not a mental barrier, right? This is a physical issue that will end your spec ops career, spec ops dreams as quick as anything else. And that is you not paying attention to your hydration, your electrolytes, and your fuel. All right. So that is how I coach through that first sticking point that
Uh-huh.
people typically get to. And that's very common. It's
Sure.
turns into a heat casualty, rhabdo. It is just a snowball that just goes downhill that just
Sure.
wrecks you. Now then the other one is, let's say, I'm running with a group and I see this guy, I'm starting to catch up to him because they're always faster than me at first. And then it's kind of
Yeah.
like the tortoise in the hare, right? And then
Yeah.
I see one, I'm like, oh, I can catch him, right? This is me talking,
Yeah. Yeah.
30 years older than him. All right. Oh, I can catch him. I can catch him. And then when I get there, I'm like, you better not let me catch you. Right. So I could, and that is just one of those little things that, when I see somebody like quitting on themselves, and
Mhm.
that's a real easy way to do it in the middle of a run. Running is not my strong point either. I get that feeling, but I try to catch them and tell them, don't let me catch them.
Right, I gotcha.
Yeah. And then the other one was I have to be honest with them, very similar to the way my mom did, and when she gave me that fork in the road and just say, here's your choice.
Right.
Like you either show up and be consistent, or don't and go figure out something else to do.
Right.
I think that's probably the most powerful thing that I can do as a coach and just as a mentor is just, help them make some hard decisions.
Sure. They got to get honest with themselves. How bad do you really want it?
That's the number one question right there, because, I look back at people say, man, I wish I was young again. I'm like, I don't. Man, the 18 to 25. I mean, yeah, I was in my prime physically, just, hardcore, I just felt bulletproof. I mean,
Right.
just crushing it. And,
Right.
but, there was a part of me like, what am I going to do the rest of my life? You're like,
For sure.
what are my choices? Right. And like,
Right.
do I get married and do I stay in the career forever? So there's a
Sure.
lot of stress that goes on inside that mind of a younger kid. And if I can help with them make some of those decisions, and hopefully it's, the right decision for them, then I feel like I've done my job. But, I had a kid recently who decided, Stu, I really appreciate you letting me work out here for the last 4 months. But I think I've decided I'm not going to do this. And I'm going to start a band. And, another guy said he's going to start a coffee shop with his brothers. And both of them are millionaires right now.
Yeah.
They want to consider a band making killer the songs, and then the other ones
Sure.
making super coffee and tearing it up.
And Stu, good on you, man. It'd be better that they figure it out at that age than go down that road, waste a bunch of time, get defeated, have to deal with that defeat, right? And all the things that come with that, then try to figure things out, right?
Yeah.
So again, it's that the really cool thing about you is you're a coach. For real.
That's what I try to be. When people ask me what I do, I tell them I'm a coach. I'm not an influencer. I hate the term influencer. I don't mind being, people calling me an influencer. Social media, I guess, has made me an influencer. But long before social media was here, I've been coaching. Right. And I still coach. I just happen to be on social media. So I'm not an influencer.
Well, you are, but
I am a coach.
and so, in my opinion, just my humble opinion, you are an influencer 100%. But that's another name for a coach, right?
Yes.
The social media's made you a influencer, right? But what you're doing is you're absolutely influencing people to figure out what their path in life really is.
Yeah. It's not my path.
Sure.
It's not my path. It's your path. And that is what I try to let them know, that hard decision of doing something you may have prepared yourself for years.
Yeah.
Doesn't happen. Doesn't mean you're a quitter, right? It just means you figured it out. And now let's go, whatever you're doing, go and crush that thing.
Yeah. Cause you're an inspirer. You're not a motivator. I mean, like, it's really cool. And I've said so many times, why can't we be born old and grow young?
Yeah, that would be awesome.
But you're really helping these young people out with all of your experience. And the more people, I know for sure, the more people that you come in contact with, that you coach, the more inspiration and influence you can have on someone that hasn't found their path in life, and really direct them in a direction that might help them figure out what that direction is. And that's the true essence of a coach. And I think that's great. So you've written a lot of books. We're going to have as many of them as we possibly can up for people to get their hands on. How do people find you to?
Yeah. If you just go to StuSmithFitness.com, you will see a laundry list of programs that I've created, as well as there's an article section, there's online coaching, a whole lot of different ways that
people can plug into
you can get involved and utilize some of my training methods.
And so tell us about your family.
Yeah, I have wife, been married 30 years this year. Um,
Congratulations.
yeah, it's pretty nice.
Yeah.
And my daughter, she's 26, about to get married, about to marry a Marine.
Okay.
So great kid, love him. And my son is 21 and is at University of Maryland, and he is studying criminology. Looks like he's going to lean towards the federal law enforcement side of the world, trying to get some internships with like Secret Service and FBI and things like that. So not sure
Nice.
where he's going, but I think he was a little bit like me, like I'm going to find my own way. Right.
Okay.
And, didn't want to go Army, so I went Navy. He didn't want to go Navy, so he's going federal law enforcement. So he's trying to find a way to serve, I think, which I
Okay,
think is
cool.
really nice.
Did you find that coaching your kids was similar to coaching the people that you work with on a regular basis that come to you? I'm interested in that duality. How did that work?
Absolutely, because I made it a point that I wasn't going to be that guy that made his kids work out with them.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So like you just said, kids come to me to train with me.
Yeah.
I don't go search for them.
Sure.
I always say the motivated find me. My kids were the same way. There was a time when I was like, man, I wish you would ask me to work out with him. I could show him a lot of stuff, but he hasn't asked yet. But then there was a time, I don't know what happened. I think girls got involved. I think that always helps.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Guys want to get bigger muscles when that happens. So between that and sports and, my son especially, he's always had like this, he just kind of did something different. He did Taekwondo since he was 6 years old, did all the way through high school and, still does a little bit in college. And, but he got really big and really strong. And I think, in fact, he was 6'4", 140 pounds in 8th grade. 6'3", 140 pounds.
Wow.
So very skinny. Very skinny.
I didn't want to say string bean, but string bean.
Yeah. He was tall and thin, right? And so we got on a eating plan, a exercise plan, and by the time he finished high school, he wound up being 6'4", 195, 200. Wow. And looked good. I mean, strong, fast, played some sports, and he's a good kid. Good kid.
Cool.
But he always found me. Like, hey, Dad, you want to throw if it was baseball? Hey, Dad, you want to work out? Yes, let's go.
And, what do they say? When the student's ready, the teacher will appear, right?
Yeah. I just didn't want to. I didn't want to do it to where he hated doing it.
For sure.
If I made him do it, he would hate it.
100%.
So I just kind of sat back and, I just took some of my own advice and was just patient.
Sure. Yeah, it takes a lot of patience and wisdom to do that because, man, as a parent, you want it so bad.
Yeah, I know.
You want it so bad, but you got to hold back and let them come to you. You know.
And now it's fun. It's we have competitions with with each other now, and it's just and it's fun to see him beat me.
Yeah.
And things. It's like this is why I do it.
Buddy. Yeah. So what's next for Stu Smith? More of the same, or what's the future looking like?
Yeah, it's going to be more of the same. Yeah, I'm trying to evolve with the internet. I think that is one thing as a business owner that if you don't keep your eyes open and mind open to the new thing, you wouldn't have a podcast, right? And you wouldn't have a website, and you wouldn't have audiobooks, right?
Sure.
So I mean, all of these things that are just evolving quicker than you can even pick up and learn. I remember when my daughter said, "Hey, Dad, you need to get an Instagram account because the kids aren't on Facebook anymore." I'm like, "What?
Right.
Man, I just learned Facebook. Now I got to learn Instagram." Right. And so I had to, be open to that growth and, say, now, almost 60% of my business comes from social media.
For sure.
So, I mean, it's stupid not to, to get it, not get involved in that.
I
So
think that you struck on something real important, because a lot of people are so afraid to get outside of their comfort zone and embrace new things that, what you just said is that's a necessary part for growth. And I want people to hear that. Like,
yeah,
you got to
I
be
don't.
willing to get out there and do it.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to do anything different
Mhm.
than coaching. Young people, writing about coaching and training for specific jobs. That will, I think, always stay the same.
Mhm.
But how it gets distributed is ever evolving.
For sure.
When I started this, it was Barnes and Noble bookstores,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And now look at it.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
insane. People are downloading, videos and ebooks now. So
Yeah. Well, great. I mean, I can't thank you enough for sharing all of your experiences. I want everybody to be able to get plugged into you. I think you have a vast amount of resources for personal growth. And one of the things that I really want to go back and hit on again is that consistency thing that keeps showing up.
yeah,
Because
that's the
I
key,
believe
man.
that that's where a lot of people fail and end up quitting is that, like you said, they get distracted and they don't keep showing up. Because when I take on clients for one-to-one coaching, my first question is always like, are you interested in this, or are you committed? And they'll go, that's an interesting question. Why do you ask? I said, because if you're interested, you'll find every reason to quit. But when
Yeah.
you're committed, you'll stop at nothing to accomplish your goal. So are you poking around here? Are you just shopping around? Or are you committed? Are you the cow? Like, are you committed?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a
Mhm.
really good point because I look back at my life, when I had a couple of options, when I got out of the military, I actually thought about going to med school,
Mhm.
right? And so I was interested in
Yeah,
med school, right?
sure.
And so I started looking at all the things that I needed to do, all the classes I needed to do, and the tests I needed to take and get accepted into this, and the money that was going to require. And all I had to do is like write it down and line it up, just like you do any particular goal that you have. And I'm like, whoo, this makes no sense right now.
There you go.
And I'm not really committed to it.
Right,
I realized then when I said it all out, I wasn't committed to it. But
right.
10 years earlier, when I was thinking about special warfare and in the Navy, I was committed to it, and I made it happen no matter what. And you just make time. If you say you don't have time to work out, you're not making time to work out.
Amen to that.
If
And
you
the
really
other thing
want to,
is
you'll
that,
do it.
yeah, and if you're giving coaching away, buddy, you're committed.
Yeah.
Like, that is one heck of an acid test right there.
Yeah.
You're doing this because you really want people to be better people, whatever
Yeah.
that means to them. And another thing that I urge people to do too is to make sure that their North Star is theirs.
Yeah, that's key.
I'm not doing this because this is what my mom would have wanted me to do, or this is what I feel like my wife wanted me to do, or whatever.
Right.
Because when the heat's on, that's going to be your anchor, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
It-
absolutely. That's a great
so
point.
I,
Yeah.
I got to tell you, I can't thank you enough for this. We're going to wrap it up, but I can go on all day with you.
Oh, cool, man. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm really impressed with who you are.
Well, thanks.
I think it's really cool. I would urge everybody that wants to accomplish anything to seek you out and to plug into you, because I'm going to plug into you harder now. I know that I'm going to go get books and get the newsletter and all the rest of that kind of stuff. So thanks for being you. Thanks for what you do for humans.
Thank you.
Very important. And I can't thank you enough for being on our podcast, sharing your story, and teaching people and coaching people that have the resources to not quit. That's the thing.
Yeah, I love it.
You know what I mean? You can dig your heels in all day long, but if you got a backpack of stuff that you can reach into and grab and use as a tool to not quit,
Yeah.
that's straight up pink Mohawk punk rock. That's great stuff right there.
Yeah. Hey, one of my favorite sayings about never quitting is, You never think about quitting if you think about winning.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Say that again.
You never think about quitting if you think about winning.
There you go. Okay.
So
Can I
that's the
use that?
mindset.
Can I
That's
use
the
that one?
mindset. Yeah, so absolutely. I post it out there all the time. So
Okay.
it's yours.
Yeah. It's where that mind's pointed, right?
Yeah.
If you're always pointed at winning, quitting's not an option. Because pain is only temporary, man, but quitting lasts a lifetime for sure. So yeah, you keep your arrow pointed at winning.
Yeah.
There's no quit that can squeak in.
Right.
Good
And
stuff.
sometimes
Man.
that win is just against yourself.
Oh, it's all
You know, it doesn't have to be like number one in a marathon. It's just beating yourself better than you were yesterday.
Oh,
Yeah.
There's nobody better to kick your ass than you.
Yeah.
I mean,
And it has to be you.
Has to be you.
It can't
Yeah.
be me doing it.
Yeah, 100%.
Because you're gonna be by yourself.
Yeah.
One day when this training really starts, and it's all you, man. Exactly.
Yeah. It's like when I started the endurance running, the first time I ran across the nation, I started on the 4th of July. So I was running across the Mojave Desert in July. And the only agreement that I made with myself when I very first started the running is that I would always keep going unless I literally physically couldn't pick my foot up and put it down in front of the other foot. Right. So I'm running across the Mojave Desert. It's hotter than blazes. My toenails have already started falling off and regrowing. I'm sitting there on the side of the road, crying my eyes out, going, this sucks, man. Whose idea was this anyway? It was yours, you idiot. And I'm crying and I'm trying to talk myself into quitting. I'm like, this sucks. I haven't seen anybody in 5 days except for roadkill. Nobody cares, right? I start going down this road, right, of focusing on quitting instead of winning, and I'm crying. And I remember my original agreement and I knew it deep inside that I could get up and take another step, right? So I did. I got up and I kept running. So that would happen periodically. And as it kept happening, I would dispense with the sitting down for a half hour and crying my eyes out and talking myself out of it. And I would just go, you just keep going. Because I knew I could, you know what I'm saying? So
I love it.
Yeah. So this has been a great conversation. I'm really happy that you accepted the invitation. I know that people are going to get a lot out of it because I did myself, and I appreciate it.
No, I love it. Quitproof is my new vocabulary. So
good. Okay. Great job. And thanks so much.
If you like this video, hit that subscribe button and share this with some of your friends.